agree to withdraw troops?
Well, President Trump had actually decreased the troops from 15,000 to 2,500 and not one casualty. President Trump's...
But there was a deal to withdraw.
It wasn't this deal. I mean, Mike Pompeo and President Trump have been very clear about this. Even the former Secretary of Defense have been very clear about this. There were requirements that had to be met. You watch time and again, whenever the Taliban did not meet the requirement, there was ramifications for that. Quick, swift, and very difficult. The other thing that you'd have to think about in the Taliban, they watched this president time and again with a crisis. Back away from Putin, ransomware, pay it. China, provide them. I just read a report before I walked out here. Allow Huawei chips to be sold. The idea that Russia could have their pipeline, but America cannot. I felt they think they were more emboldened. And as they moved city to city, I know for a fact that President Trump wouldn't allow that. That didn't meet the requirements. And for the President Biden to sit back in an interview and say nothing went wrong, that's a telltale line. And that you plan for every scenario, well, whoever started planning this should have stopped when this scenario started. Lives are going to be lost. The president has now ruined our reputation on the world stage, not for a week, but for decades to come. Our own allies are criticizing us. Our own allies who are sitting there defending us because America was attacked, asking us to extend the deadline so they can get their own citizens home, not for any other reason. And the allies that we have fought for years together, he said no and yes to the Taliban. So no, none of that would have happened under a different administration. And yes, that was a failure. One of the biggest failures I watched from a foreign policy in my lifetime. And it's going to do a lot of damage to us. Not just in a short run, but a long run. What does China believe now about Taiwan? What does Russia think about the Baltics or Eastern Europe? And not only when you talk, Jake, about the base, think of the location of where it is. The president talks about looking over, having eyes ahead of time. That base proximity to Russia, to China, to Pakistan. The idea of terrorists coming again from Afghanistan. When you move people out, you don't have the intel.